Today I'm throwing a new water pump on this 5.7 Hemi. This is a friend of mine car that I've tuned already. He's on E. Had some troubles with this water pump. You can kind of see the discoloration on it, that orange stuff. So I'm just gonna kind of walk you through how to do this simpler. I see a lot of videos on there that they show you how to do it, but there's a few steps that are skipped to kind of make it easier. For one, we're gonna remove this. Literally just remove this hose clamp and unplug from the manifold. This whole thing comes out and you have more space. We're also gonna drop the radiator fan. There's 2 bolts on each side and you can just slide it down, giving you more room to work here. So let's get started. First thing we're gonna do is we're gonna jack up the car and we are gonna drain the coolant. Now that we have the car jacked up, we're gonna get under there, get the belly pan out of the way, and all of that work is gonna be to get to that hose that's right there where it's lit up, and there's a valve right where that hole in the bottom is. That's how we're gonna drain our radiator. Okay, so your underside might look a little different. You can see all the coolant already, and this is just from the car sitting here. So we're gonna take these 4 bolts out like you would if you were gonna do an oil change, and we're gonna take out these bolts here to get this belly pan, and the petcock hose is right here. Okay, and then the valve is right there. And to get that top part of the belly pan off, there's also some push pins. So there's one here, there's one in there, and there's one here on each side, plus the 7mm bolts that run across the front. So we're gonna take those out. Little trick of the trade here. If you have this, you can't really get that angle, just flip it around. And then you can an angle and backhand it. Just like that. And then there's usually push pins here. But you can see I have a push pin, and then it looks like a push pin that was screwed in. So we're gonna take them off on this side here and on the other side, and then this will come right out. Okay. And that's really all we need. We don't need to take it all the way out because we just need to get to this right here. So let me show you that valve, which is this right here. So all we're gonna do is we're gonna rotate this and coolant's gonna come out. So let's get our bucket. So I got it cracked. You can see that there's coolant coming out. So, there we go. And you don't want to back it out all the way, because then that valve is actually going to come out. So let me show you. So if you twist it any farther, you're actually going to take that valve out, and you don't want that. So we're just going to sit here and let it drain. One thing you want to make sure you do, you want to come back to the top of the car. You want to open the cap up. And we'll give it a second. Let it drain out. All right, then we're actually going to take this IAT sensor here and unplug it. So hitting this with an A, just to loosen it up. And we're going to slide all this off with one piece. Okay. And super simple, we're just gonna break the torque first, and nice and slow. There is a lot of thread on these bolts, so don't do what I just did. Just drop the bolt. Off. See, there's our thermostat right there. Next, I am gonna drop the radiator fan. So on the back side, there is two 8mm bolts that hold it in on each side, and then we're gonna undo our clip, and then this is gonna pop up, and we're gonna slide it down. I'm actually gonna take the extra 5 seconds and hit this with an 8mm. This out of my way, just so I have more room to work. All right, so we're looking from the top. That bolt is right here. Okay, so now we're just gonna take the fan, push it up, and slide it down. The connector can stay intact. And we don't need to take it all the way out. We can just leave it right there, and we have plenty of room to work here from the top. Next up, we have a 3/8 ratchet into the tensioner. And a little trick of the trade. Put your top half of your jack on there, give you some leverage, and you want to go towards the passenger side. Oh, driver's side. Got me all mixed up here. And you just want to flip off the top, get off the water pump, and that's it. Before we can start taking everything off the water pump, we need to remove the tensioner and the idler pulley. So tensioner is right here, idler pulley is right here. So it's actually a 16 here. If you have trouble breaking that, just use your trusted pry bar. I don't know if this is supposed to come apart like that. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Who knows? Flathead or something right here to pop this hose out. That way so it's loose and out of my way. Just like that. This is pretty loose, so there's that. It isn't the best at breaking it, so I'm gonna break them off first and then hit them with the swivel. And I'm kind of using my new water pump as a guide to show me all of the bolt hole locations. So there's one under the sensor right here.
Like that. This one here. That one. This one down here. That one. This one down here. This one. And a
Couple of them you are not able to see. So if you're looking at the water pump, you have this bolt, this bolt, this bolt, and this bolt. So there's 4 that you are out of sight. So you want to make sure you grab all those. like I said, use your water pump, your new one, as a guide to help you find those holes. Now the only thing I have left is to get the hose on the bottom of the water pump. So let me get that right now and readjust the camera to show you. So you can see, talking about right here, there's one more clamp that's on the bottom of the water pump, and then I can break this seal and pull it on out. So that hose is right here on the new one, so you can kind of get a reference point. And the thermostat, I'm just gonna give it a wiggle. Just make sure that's out. See how nasty this is. Gives me more room to get this hose off. Alright, so I need to get this hose out of here. Now that I got that seal broken, I can just wiggle it out. Pump should have no play. Okay, you should not be able to move it like this. Look at that. Crazy. Alright, so this is why I keep my bolts in the same place on the new ones. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all my bolts and transfer them to the old water pump. That way, as I'm reinstalling this one, I know exactly where each bolt goes. Alright, so what I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to take a rag and just do my best to get all this gunk off of there. Okay, so I got the new thermostat just kind of, or water pump just resting there. The thermostat's in the new water pump. I'm kind of just gonna use a couple bolts to just hold my water pump in place. Very important that you can at least get a few turns hand threading these bolts in. Last thing you want to do is strip a bolt or a thread on the timing cover. So I'm just gonna go like put like 4 or 5 bolts in, make sure that they're threading in. Okay, I've got all the bolts in. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to torque everything down to 21 foot-pounds. And I'm basically just going to go in order around the water pump just to make sure that they're down there, and then I'm going to crisscross afterwards. So here we go. Start at the top. Okay, next thing I need to do is I need to remove my temp sensor from the old water pump, install it on the new water pump. All right, so here's that sensor. And I'm gonna go ahead and make sure that I tighten it down to where I only see one thread of white.
And if you have a 3/4 deep socket, that'll make your life easier.
Okay, so next up I push my hose back in, make sure I tighten that back down. And before I do anything else, I'm gonna reconnect the hose back onto the water pump, which is by far the hardest part of the job. Okay, went a lot faster than I thought it was gonna go. Now I'm just gonna reconnect top hose, and those are the 13 mil bolts. Same things, these have a lot of thread on them, so you want to make sure that you get them started first. Okay, so got the belt on, it's just not tightened yet. So it comes over the alternator, under the idler, over the water pump, then it comes over the other idler and straight down under the AC compressor, then it comes underneath the balancer, and then it flips upside down right here on your tensioner, and then it cuts straight across to the alternator. Okay. Just going to let it heat up to operating temp and flush out any coolant that we got in there. Alright, we're back in the car. Got the coolant temp sitting at 181, which is beautiful. This car has a 180 degree thermostat. The heater's blowing hot, so it looks like we got all the air out of there. So now all we need to do is just button everything up. Fans are on. Reservoir is topped off, so now we're just going to button everything else up underneath. We got no leaks. See right here, no leaks. So we just got to put our belly pan back on and call it a day. Alright, so we're in the car, keeping an eye on the coolant temps. Going to do a quick log just to make sure everything's good. Like I said, I did tune this car on E85, so just to see how it's doing.